What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Very interesting fight. A fight that nobody saw coming, that's for sure. Jake Paul got a record of 12 wins. 1 loss, 7 KOs. His 1 loss was by split decision to Tyson Fury's younger brother, Tommy Fury. Split decision. He got a knockdown late in that fight, but he got outpointed in that fight. It was one of them fights. It could have been a draw. It was one of them fights that, I think it was an 8-round fight. So, you know, you probably could have had it 5-3 either way, 4-4 with the knockdown, maybe giving it to Jake Paul. I think one judge gave it to Jake, the other two gave it to Tommy. Now, when you look at Anthony Joshua's resume, he's got a very strong resume. He's been in there with Joseph Parker, Carlos Takam, Alexander Usyk. To date, he's gave Alexander Usyk his toughest fight. He lost that rematch by split decision. You know, he's fought Daniel Dubois. He's fought Robert Helenius. He's fought Andy Ruiz. He's fought Dominique Brazil. He's got a very, very strong resume. You know, he's going to have a strong case when he hangs up his gloves. He'll have a strong case to make it into the Boxing Hall of Fame. So with that being said, he's taking on a guy that started up boxing very, very late. And I'm going to look at his last fight, because them other fights, man, he fight like that, he get knocked out and get knocked out early. I'm going to look at his last fight. And really, Jake Paul's last fight was the first fight that he actually looked like a professional fighter, in my opinion. He took on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, he took on a faded version of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but he looked spectacular the first 4 to 5 rounds. He looked like a boxer. He was controlling range. He looked like a slick boxer. He was in that Philly shell a little bit, hitting him with the jab, hitting him with overhand rights. He's got a beautiful overhand right, going to the body very well. Basically, outboxing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the first real boxer that a lot of people thought he had, fought. Other guys that he had fought that were boxers, he didn't get no credit for. They were like, man, them guys are club fight. Them guys really ain't no fighters. They ain't even had a building ever in their professional career. You beating guys like August, and you beating guys like on that level, man. Them guys are probably a step above club level fighters. So he got in there with a former world champion, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. A guy that wasn't at his best, had seen better days, but was still a guy that knew his way around that square circle, and he put on a beautiful boxing display in the first 4 or 5 rounds. But the problem with that fight, and I think the problem in the AJ fight, is he faded. He faded late in that fight. He got caught with a lot of clean punches. If that had been AJ, he'd have went to sleep like AJ gave him some NyQuil. So he can't do that against AJ. He's got to be able to fight like he fought in the first 4 rounds to have a chance against AJ. Now, AJ in his last fight against Daniel Dubois got hit with a shot early in that fight. He never really recovered from that fight. Never really recovered from that punch. And he fought back, and he hurt and rocked Daniel Dubois before he got knocked out. But his legs were never there after that first knockdown. He made a cardinal sin going straight back. Daniel Dubois fought him going straight back and caught him with an overhand right. And when you look at the Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez fight, he was catching Chavez Jr. with some beautiful overhand rights. So I think that's what Jake Paul looking at to capitalize on versus AJ, the overhand right. He's going to try to get AJ to go back, and he goes straight back, which is a cardinal sin. He's going to try to catch him with that same punch Daniel Dubois caught him with. And that was really the punch that won the fight for Daniel Dubois. I think that's what Jake Paul is seeing. That's why Jake Paul is speaking with so much confidence in this fight. So we will see what happens. And we will see what transpires. Interesting matchup. I look for Jake Paul to establish the jab, try to be in and out with AJ, and try to control range with AJ, and try to basically beat him to the punch early on. And he'll try to hope that his stamina hold up over 8 rounds of fair and win a decision. I see no scenario where he actually knocks out AJ, even though AJ is chinny. AJ been knocked down multiple times by guys that were not known as punchers. Andy Ruiz was not known as some puncher, but he had fat hand. He knocked down AJ multiple times. Now, Daniel Dubois was a guy that known to have power, and he was able to knock down AJ several times and ultimately stop AJ with a knockout punch. So Jake Paul, who has 7 knockouts in 12 fights, and he's been fighting high caliber fighters. His first opponent was Nate Robinson or something. His second opponent was Nate Robinson, a former NBA player. He's fought guys like Nate Diaz and Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, who did have a boxing background. And I believe outside of the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight, the Anderson Silva fight was probably Jake Paul's best performance, and that's probably his second best win behind the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fights. But when you look at Jake Paul, man, he's going to definitely have to be fighting a very disciplined fight, and hopefully maybe he can catch AJ with a punch he don't see, because anybody can get knocked down with a punch they don't see. Anybody can be knocked out with a punch they don't see, but I just don't see any scenario where Jake knocks him out. I think Jake's only path to victory is winning by decision, like he did in the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight. Be very accurate, be very on point, outmaneuver AJ, and try to win a decision in that way. I think AJ can win it several ways. He can win it by knockout, he can win it by decision. You know, he can try to out-jab the jab, because I think Jake Paul's going to definitely try to establish the jab, but Anthony Joshua has a decent jab. He can start with the jab and use his height and reach advantage. Even though Jake Paul got a nice reach, though. He got a 76-inch reach advantage. So a lot of people are not talking about that, but AJ, I think, has a longer reach, and he'll be looking to establish the jab. He'll be looking to set up the right hand, which is one of the most powerful punches in the sport of boxing. You know, this side of what Deontay Wilder, both of those guys have electric right hands, and if he catches Jake Paul with that right hand, you know, Jake Paul's going to sleep. You know, Jake Paul's going to be put in a body bag, so he's going to have to avoid that right hand at all costs. Now, Jake Paul's never been knocked down, but he's never been in there with the puncher, you know, like an AJ. AJ's got one hitter quitter power, 25 knockouts and 28 wins. So 9 times out of 10, when he wins by knockout. So he's a vicious puncher, got a very, very good uppercut. He's got a very good right hand, a decent combination puncher, but sometimes he kind of forgets about his jab, and sometimes he takes rounds off. Sometimes he kind of worries about his gas tank going empty late in the fight. He ain't gonna have to worry about that in this particular fight due to it being an 8-round affair, but I've seen in other fights he kind of maybe tries to preserve himself, don't go balls to the walls in some rounds, and then try to preserve himself for the championship rounds, and then try to, you know, let his hands go later on in the fight. You know, he could try to do that with Jake Paul, but he kind of runs the risk of falling behind early, because AJ did do that in the Usyk rematch, and Jake Paul was able to build up a big enough lead against Chavez Jr. to win that fight, even though Chavez Jr. came on in the last, 2 or 3 rounds. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, let me just break this down, and let me just let you guys know that this is not a scripted fight. This is not some fight that is going to be a setup, man. This is a real fight. Unlike the Tank Davis fight, which was an exhibition, so that fight could have easily been scripted, because that was an exhibition. But when you talk about a real fight, when you talk about people putting money on this fight, you can't be having this thing scripted. If it's ever found out that it was scripted, you got a big ass lawsuits by millions of fans and boxing purists that follow boxing and put money on boxing. They gonna have some lawsuits for them casinos everywhere, Las Vegas, everywhere, New Jersey, everywhere that they allow bets for this particular matchup. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. I think Jake Paul gonna be doing good early on in this fight. I think he got a chance in this fight. Unlike a lot of people come out there saying if the fight go past 2 rounds, AJ need to retire. AJ is watched if he can't get this guy out in the last 2 rounds. They need to go back and watch the Jake Paul Chavez Jr. fights. You know, watch the first 4 or 5 rounds. He was a professional boxer in that fight. He looked at much different than he looked in his previous fights. And I think he can build off that, but I just think he don't have the experience. AJ been in there with several different styles. Now, AJ has struggled against guys that are shorter than him, guys that have quick hands, which Jake Paul will be trying to implement in that fight. Guys like Andy Ruiz beat him in the first fight, lost to him in the second fight. Guys like Carlos Takam was giving him problems in that fight before that fight was bogusly stopped. So I think Jake Paul's seen all that, and I think he's seen the Daniel Dubois fight, which Again, AJ made the cardinal sin of going straight back, got caught with an overhand right. I think Jake Paul going to be looking to catch him with the same punch, and I think he's going to be looking to have similar results that Daniel Dubois had. I don't think he's the puncher that Daniel Dubois is, particularly at the heavyweight division, but we will see if that's indeed the case or if it isn't the case. If it isn't the case, then Jake Paul got a chance to pull a monumental upset, the biggest upset in the sport of boxing since Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. A lot of people said Ngannou beat Fury. That would have been the biggest upset in boxing, but the judges gave it to Fury by split decision. But a lot of people thought Ngannou won that fight, including Anthony Joshua. But I know a lot of people that watched that fight thought Ngannou won that fight. It was one of them fights that it was like, it could have been a 2-point win for either fighter. It could have been a draw. I don't think it could have been no draw. If it was a draw, then no. If it had been even rounds, Ngannou would have won the fight on a knockdown by 1 point. So clearly, the judges that gave it to Fury gave it to him by winning 2 or more rounds, because anything less, he wouldn't have been able to get the win. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Great attraction that's coming up in Miami, Florida. Got a strong undercard. We got Alicia Baumgartner on the undercard defending her belt. She's a top female fighter at 130 pounds. We'll see if she'll be able to beat the lady from Canada. Don't know too much about her, but she seems to be willing to come in there and fight. And she seems to be one of them ones that's maybe quiet, but when they get in the ring, she's going to go balls to the wall. So I'm very much looking forward to that matchup. Carolina Dubois, the sister of Daniel Dubois, she's one of the rising stars. She's got power in both hands, just like Baumgartner. I'm looking forward to that fight. Hopefully they get that fight done for 2026. Maybe, once Baumgartner is through taking care of business at 130 pounds, she moves up to 135. But she might prefer a fight with a Serrano. Probably get paid more for a Serrano fight than a Dubois fight, but I don't know. Maybe they could do that fight over there in the UK, and then maybe they give Baumgartner the bag, because she's been over there before and won a fight, so maybe she'll be willing to go over there again to fight a Carolina Dubois. But that's a fight I'm really looking forward to in 2026. So hopefully both women are successful on the undercard of the Jake Paul Anthony Joshua fight, and we get that fight sometime in 2026. But we will see. But let me know your thoughts about this fight, Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. You think this is going to be a one-sided affair? You think Anthony Joshua is going to knock him out inside 2 rounds? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Or you think, just like I do, that this is a much more competitive fight than people are giving it credit for? And I do like AJ to win this fight by 7th round stoppage. I think he gets the job done in the 7th round, but I think early on Jake Paul going to be having a lot of success. And I believe that Jake Paul will be ahead on the scorecard after the first 4 rounds. But I think Jake Paul has stamina issues. Until proven otherwise, he has stamina issues. Not only in the Chavez Jr. fight, but I've seen him kind of fatigue in other fights as well. And I think that'll play a part in this fight. You know, I know he's probably in tremendous shape, but you fighting a guy like an AJ, the anxiety kick in. You know, you fighting a guy that's much bigger than you. I know AJ, if he's smart, be trying to use his weight to lean on Jake Paul to kind of take away his stamina later on in the fight. But if he's not able to do that, I just think the occasion and anxiety and the magnitude of the fight could catch up with Jake Paul being such a green fighter, never been on this stage before. And in this moment, I think it could all come to play and contribute to his fatigue. And I think once he starts catching those flush shots from AJ, it's just going to be a matter of time before the stoppage comes. I'm looking for a 7th round stoppage. He gets Jake Paul up out of there in the 7th round to get his 29th victory in 26 KO and move on to hopefully the fight that everybody's been talking about for the last 7 years, the matchup with himself and Tyson Fury, the former lineal in WBC heavyweight champion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Follow me on TikTok at JB Sports New Media. Follow me on Twitch at Briscoe MA77071. Follow me on Instagram at JB Sports 9707. Follow me on my YouTube channels. That's plural, not singular. At JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, 8000. And at JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, 9656. And like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.